picture car, a term for any vehicle shown in movies or TV shows. One of the top Hollywood car specialists is here to tell us why cars are more than just steel and glass. It's all coming up next on Below the Line.
It's Below the Line with George Peroulas. On tonight's show,
Welcome to Below the Line. I'm George Peroulas. Motor vehicles can be just as famous as the lead actor. The DeLorean in Back to the Future, James Bond's Aston Martin, Kit the Trans Am in Knight Rider, or the General Lee from the Dukes of Hazzard. My guest today has been a part of some of these well-known Hollywood cars and is here to explain how these cars are created. Please welcome Ron Cerven. Hey Ron, how are you?
Great, thanks for having me.
All right, sure. Now in the early days you were building and creating stock cars in California and racing them as well, over 100 wins. How did you get into that?
That was something where I had my own business and somebody had come into my shop asking to basically sponsor their stock car at Sauga Speedway. And they just needed some parts or some help. And, you know, one thing led to another. It helped, and then became an owner actually on an entry-level car. And started driving after about a year, one season of that. I started driving, and my third race was a main event win, and kind of just kept on going from there.
And what was your transition from building and racing cars to building cars for show business?
Actually, a lot of it, one kind of fell into the other. Because of racing cars, I got to know Ray Claridge at Cinema Vehicle Services in California and raced with him and for him for quite a while. And so he already kind of naturally had the picture car business going and was involved in racing, so it was something where my company was doing a lot of movie stuff and television stuff with graphics and signs and glass. And then so then the two of us merged and really kind of took the picture car thing to a whole nother level out there in California.
Now some of the movies you've worked on are Gone in 60 Seconds, the Austin Powers movie, Herbie Fully Loaded, the Jessica Simpson movie, The Dukes of Hazzard, and of course, Starsky and Hutch, a big car movie with Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson. How do you get involved in these, and how many replica cars are needed for these kinds of movies?
A lot of that depends on exactly what the car is going to do and what its role is in the film. A film like Gone in 60 Seconds, where it's all about that car, I think 13 cars is what was needed for that film. And each one of them was built with a special purpose. Everything from the special car for the jump scenes, special car for sliding and driving and how that worked, right down to a right-hand drive car for some stunt driving. There's a lot of, even though they all look the same on the outside, they're actually very different cars inside. The Herbie, that movie was probably closer to 20 cars when it was all said and done. Possibly a little bit more than that, and what's really neat is in a lot of the scenes that you saw in that movie where the car's on the racetrack, that car really was able to go that fast. It was able to sustain those kind of speeds, and was a really safe car as well. It's the people that built that car out there for that specific scene of that movie just did an awesome job, and you know, I mean, it was a cool car.
And of course, one of my favorites, the General Lee. The
General Lee's kind of a cool story for me. It started out when I was a kid in high school still. We were replacing the glass on the set for my job after school. Then when the remake came along to do the feature film, we were able to do the cars and all the decals right down to the graphics and the final paint right there at Cinema Vehicles in California.
And how many of those were used for the film?
That was probably but that was pretty much close to a dozen as well, possibly a little bit more. Once you get out to the set, because it was filmed off location, and they'll tend to rebuild cars or even acquire more cars during filming as well. But probably started out with at least a dozen, I would say.
Now these different cars do, of course, road tricks and stunts. What's the modification process like? I guess the main thing is braking for the turns and spins and traction control. Is that the main part or more?
Not so much traction control. That's where the stunt driver comes in. Is, you know, it takes a good talent to do what you see on the screen. When those cars are really sliding and doing that type of stuff, it's because you got a talented driver behind the wheel. But there is, for jumping, a lot of it is safety. Safety is always the major concern with that, because we are really jumping 3,000-pound cars. So the roll cages are specially built, a lot of safety stuff, braking, inspections, mechanical, everything to make that car do exactly what it needs to do. Sometimes the car doesn't live after the jump, but the guy inside does, and that's the main part with that.
Yeah, I know these stunt guys are really into safety and all that, and that's why it takes a long time to fill these tricky scenes. Now, tell me about the cartoon TV show Black Dynamite. You were called upon to create a real car based on a cartoon car. How did that work?
We'd received a call. They wanted to do some stuff to promote this brand new cartoon, Black Dynamite, and so what they wanted to do was reproduce the car or a likeness of it so that they could bring it to the shows, to like Comic-Con, all the different shows where they're going to debut this new cartoon. And then at the end they had a sweepstakes, and somebody actually won that car. So we built a car from artist renderings, from cartoon sketches, different things like that. And you know, just step by step tried to look at the minimum features that'll make it be the car without spending months and months recreating that exact car.
Now, the car you used for the Black Dynamite project also has some film history. We've seen that car before. It was the car used in the movie Semi-Pro, the Will Ferrell basketball comedy, right?
That's correct, yeah. We were under the gun to find a car, needed that exact type of car, and I happened to be on the West Coast. The car needed to be delivered to San Diego's Comic-Con, and so I started shopping for the car on the West Coast, and I actually found the car right there at Cinema Vehicle Services while I was out there. So, you know, all the pieces of the puzzle fell right in. Time was really tight to get to find a car, get it built, you know, and get it delivered, and so it worked out really good. And yeah, it had a little bit of a pedigree. It's you know, been in quite a few other things as well, but that's probably the most famous that Cadillac was in before.
Now, what kind of a Cadillac was that?
That's actually an Eldorado. So it's a front-wheel drive Eldorado. It's a big car, you know, but it's kind of funny, is like with the Will Ferrell movie. I mean, that is the car that's in on the cover. That's, you know, that was his car in the movie. So it's pretty funny to, you know, when the person won that in the sweepstakes, they not only won a Black Dynamite car, but, you know, kind of had a little bit extra with it.
Very good. Coming up next on Below the Line, find out how much input the screenwriter and director have in the creation of picture cars. Stay with us.
I wish I was in school. If only I had a math test today. I'll stay after class. I'll clean the chalkboard. I wish I was in school.
School ends, but free lunches for your kids don't have to. Find your local food bank at feedingamerica.org/summer meals for help.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
We're back with picture car builder Ron Cerven. Now, Ron, what is your process in designing and creating these cars when you get the call?
You know, it just depends on the project, but it could be something as simple as some sketches come down from the art department, from the art directors and stuff on a TV show or a feature film. Or when we get into a bigger feature film, we start working with the transportation department. They deal with the producers and everything on the show, get everything lined up. They know exactly what the car needs to be, or they have a decent idea. They bring in sketches, drawings, or we talk about, you know, what we're going to do. If we do a commercial, a lot of times it's a lot of the commercials I've done in the past, they just come in with some ideas, and then I kind of have the freedom to take that to what I imagine they were thinking about and build it into a car, or I'll sketch it out myself to present it back to them. But a lot of times it's, you know, there's a whole bunch of people you want to make happy with this, you know, so when that vehicle is done and shows up, that it's exactly what everybody envisioned. So it's a bit of a project sometimes to get it all right, but usually works out real good in the end.
And what is the input from the director or the screenwriter? You know, they created the story, they wrote about this car. What is their input?
Obviously, you know, they have a lot of the initial say on how this thing looks, but it's not always either maybe can't be done in a budget of what they were envisioning, you know, so sometimes you got to do a little bit of a happy medium. Maybe the amount of creation that goes into a vehicle, you know, could be a time constraint or something like that. So a lot of times it's a happy medium, or depending on, you know, where we need to be with it, right down to every last nut and bolt that they were envisioning will be on that car.
How cohesive is the process of getting these cars made with your team, along with the added pressures of the last-minute Hollywood changes?
You know, a lot of people in the industry know there is a lot of last-minute stuff, but it's, you know, at Hollywood Industries, I mean, that's what we do. You know, we know that, we talk it, we understand it, and we're prepared for it every time. So when those last-minute changes come, you know, we do everything we can to try to prevent that. We do a lot of color spray outs, a lot of color sampling, so that before we paint a car, especially if it's custom mixed colors or something like that, they have a chunk of that paint in their hand. They take it outside, they can do camera testing with it, they can do a lot of stuff with it before we paint the whole car. And what that does is, a lot of times that stops us from repainting a car, because what shows up on camera doesn't always show up in your eye, or just the opposite. Especially when it comes to some big metallics and some stuff like that, where it just doesn't work with the camera as good as it does with the sunlight in your eye. So a lot of times that sample is the best way to go with that.
Now you're based here in North Carolina, and your phone keeps ringing. You've been busy doing facelifts for cars and motorcycles and trucks, and for cable TV too. You've gotten a call from them, and some of your work has been featured on the show Outcast Customs. How did that come about?
That was something I'd actually met the husband and wife of the show a year previous at the SEMA show out in Las Vegas, and I had a couple of the cars that I had created from ground up out there that were on display at the SEMA show, and so they had kind of, you know, mentioned that they were looking into moving into Mooresville, and you know, just coincidence, that's exactly where we were at, building cars and everything. So when they come into town, we kind of helped them out getting their building going, and along with Ted and Ron and the rest of the cast on the show, and we helped out on a lot of the different builds, did some specialty stuff for them, some hydraulics and some stuff for commercial industries, and the way that some of the stuff works on the show, and it worked out real good. You know, it was a good bunch of people.
Now tell me how this really works. You know, we see these 30-minute cable shows, the before and after and all of that. How long does it really take to take a car or a truck and transform it? I mean, is it weeks? Do you get a lot of time to prep? You know, parts are hard to find maybe sometimes. You know, in a half-hour show, we get the whole before and after.
Yeah, you do. You know, obviously there's a lot of time involved. So yeah, some parts might be more difficult to find than others. Something may just not work out the way that it was planned in the beginning. Parts might not fit, you know, I mean, it just depends on what it is. Something doesn't look right, you know, or just whatever. So there's a lot of times we might film for, you know, a week. They might have hundreds of hours of film for that 30-minute segment, you know, that you actually end up seeing on television. There's a lot of, you know, just a lot of different things that maybe aren't exciting enough, but you had to get these parts done, you know, and then you get the sparks and the fireworks and stuff like that that makes TV, you know, makes it a little more exciting.
Now, earlier we came to your shop, and you have a few projects, you know, that you're restoring. I know you can't talk about them because they're for an upcoming project, but what's it like to have these things always going on and looking for cars and getting them sent over and rebuilding them, and then having them go on their way to the next show or movie or commercial. Feels pretty good, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, I've always loved cars, so that's the biggest thing. So the hard part is you put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in a project, and this would be, sometimes you build a car exactly the way you would want your car, And so it's actually a little bit hard. It's like sending your children off to school because you don't know if they're coming back for sure, It's they might find a job where they went to school or whatever, but it's that kind of thing where there's always, each one of these cars has a little bit of a bond with yourself. So it's a little hard to see the tail lights, but knowing that it's done right and you've got a happy customer that delivered that car, and or it's going to work out great for the picture or the series or whatever it ends up being on, it's definitely a good thing. And it's always cool to be able to sit back and watch something on TV or go to the movies and see how it works out.
Very good. Still ahead, how would you like to be behind the wheel of a car that gets over 190 miles per gallon? Ron here knows something a little bit about that. His secret is next.
Packers,
Vikings,
Red State, Blue State.
We come from different places.
Uptown.
But when we live united, we create real lasting change in the education, income, and health of our country.
United.
Real change won't happen without you. So give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Sign up at liveunited.org.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
60 minutes of physical activity a day and eating well can help get your child healthy. Get ideas, get involved, get going at letsmove.gov. That's letsmove.gov.
Ron Cerven, picture car specialist, has satisfied Hollywood for years, but he's also been developing what I call cars of the future. Now, Ron, tell me about your hybrid technology and design elements that could soon have us all paying a whole lot less at the gas pump.
We've been designing and engineering cars, for a long time. So kind of a natural thing that came on board was how do we get these cars to be much more efficient, and new drivetrains, like electric drivetrains and things like that. So I had led the manufacturing side of a company out here for quite a while, and we built and designed some new cars ground up, including a full-on electric sports car, just beautiful car. Also did a ultra aerodynamic car that the idea originally was just to be a really efficient car to be able to drive back and forth to work. Had the thought was it's a 2-passenger car, but a lot of storage, and all the creature comforts of a normal car. So it's not completely crazy. We've got 85 cubic feet of storage in the back for groceries, anything like that. It didn't limit you. But the car, we decided to enter into the Progressive Insurance Automotive X Prize. And that was in 2010, and the idea was it's a $10 million purse for the most efficient car that can get over 100 miles per gallon. And so we pushed that, and it was something where the company didn't really want to do that. It's like, I know that this is going to be good press for the company, and I hate finishing second in anything, so I really thought that we had the drive to be able to pull it off. And so it took a lot more testing than we expected out there in Michigan. The organization was just, because it wasn't about building a car in your garage and just coming. I mean, this was a car that could or should be able to be produced, that is safe, that is, a legitimate car. And so we pushed and pushed, and we went and did all the testing. There's braking tests, everything that you normally see with like a Consumer Reports test for a street car. We had to surpass all those tests as well. And as they were there doing a lot of the testing themselves. And so we ended up winning our class on that with an average of 187.5 miles per gallon equivalent. It was a full electric car, and kind of after that I went off on my own just to continue doing what I do with cars and picture cars and everything, and ended up doing some work for a company up in Virginia called Edison 2. They were actually the mainstream winners of the Progressive X Prize. And so they wanted me to come and work with them and see what we could develop up there. And through some time, some new technologies and stuff, I ran 3 days consecutive with all the EPA testing in a dyno. So it's in a controlled lab, but you're running their exact EPA tests to prove that you get the MPGE that you say that you do. And we'd actually come out of the lab at 350 miles per gallon equivalent in that car. I ran 3 consecutive days, city tests, highway tests, and I ran 3 days. I ran about 345 miles total, and works out to about $3 in electricity. So it was pretty crazy. It was pretty cool. It's a world record.
That's incredible. And it's all from the brain of this man here, Ron Cerven. So were you good like in high school with math and science and all this kind of stuff?
I was actually probably just the opposite. I was the guy that couldn't get enough of all the shops, of the wood shop, the metal shop, drafting, all of that industrial art stuff. That's where I was the strongest. And the reality is, I had to go back to school to learn more math and everything to continue with what I was doing. But it's something to where I don't think all the kids these days have these opportunities for the industrial arts, and I do feel like we're kind of missing out on that part of the industry. We don't, we can't find these guys. We've got to train them ourselves. But it's something where the numbers and all that, and then all of a sudden it clicked, But it was all of a sudden I saw a need for it. I needed to know trig. I needed to know all these things, and whereas before it was, I needed to know all the industrial art stuff. So school's a good thing. You need it.
Well, we hope that you succeed in that, because I'm tired of paying these gas prices. I'll get in a car at any time and maybe pay $50 for the whole year. Maybe that'll work one day.
It's very possible. It's, at Edison 2, I mean, a lot of the time and effort is built into the aerodynamics. We've got just a great engineering staff, great company up there, and really striving for some of the new latest and greatest. Their own, everything up there is proprietary. Suspension systems, everything is not like anything that's in a car today. And that's really, if you're going to get to that next level with these cars, that's exactly what you got to do, is think out of the box and start building something that's not around.
And going back to picture cars, when a TV show gets canceled or a movie just fades away, the fans still have a connection with the car. Why do you think that is, that people are so attached to these non-human characters?
There's a lot of movies that the car was, the movie, or played a big part in the movie. Or maybe they just, they love to see these high-performance cars, or they love to see, something about it just clicked, with the heart of the viewer. And so I guess the neat part about that is those cars don't always die. They might go to a museum, they might go to a back lot, they might go somewhere, but there's a lot of those cars still around, and it's neat to be able to go see a George Barris creation somewhere at a car show, or a Batmobile, I mean, a Munstermobile, all that stuff that he built back then. I mean, that is all stuff that I love still today, and love to build and create anything wild like that. The biggest thing is we're not limited. Hollywood Industries is we can pull from anyone that we need to build that car to be as wild and crazy as anything anybody's ever seen before. And maybe we'll be that next person that everybody recognizes and sees these wild cars out there.
And you and your team always stay busy in Mooresville in your shop. So what do you guys have coming up next?
Right now we're kind of in an expansion phase. Realistically, we're building up a fleet. We're getting a lot of stuff together. We want to be able to cater more to the industry, so we're going to have a lot of picture vehicles and stuff there that are there for rent. So you don't have to buy the cars, but you can come in and say, I want that car, I need this fire truck, I need this to look like that. Say it be a police car or a fire truck, ambulance, anything like that. We'll paint them, dress them, light them, everything to the exact year and town city, whatever it is, so that their picture is right on the money with every detail. But we also have another branch of Hollywood Industries called Hollywood Customs, and that's where we do your private car, your personal car. We do a lot of celebrity cars. We do different cars for you know, local people, but we ship cars in from around the states or around the world. We've got a lot of high-end European cars that are being restored that are, you know, multi-million-dollar cars, all the way down to just, you know, your favorite car used to be your dad's car. You know, you want to restore it or you want to do something custom to it. Somebody wants a rat rod built or a custom bike. We do choppers. We do all that type of stuff as well. There's really not much of a limit to what we can do. I mean, everything from paint to glass to upholstery is all done in-house. And so it makes it, you know, a real good choice for us to be able to take care of your customers as well as take care of the studios.
And that's why you and your crew stay busy in Mooresville creating all these cars. Well, Ron, thank you for coming. I know you're very busy. We appreciate your time to come down here and talk to us and show us all your picture cars. Thank you.
Well, thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
All right. We're back in a moment. Stay with us.
Now, come on. Come on. All right. I know. 2 seconds. Hang on. Just stand still. Stand still, love. 1 second. I know. Just hang on. Okay, good. Okay, go, go, go. No. Boys, hang on. Boys.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of children in foster care who will take you just as you are.
So, you're looking for help with your mortgage. Worried about foreclosure? We can help you keep your house. All we ask for in return is that you submit to our plans for galactic domination. Sign.
If you're facing foreclosure, talk to the right people. Speak with HUD-approved housing counselors free of charge at 888-995-HOPE.
Thanks again to Ron Cerven, and thank you for watching. Please contact us with your questions, comments, or show ideas. The email address is belowtheline21@gmail.com, and join our fan page on Facebook. We'll see you next time.
For more information, comments, or questions about the show, email us at belowtheline21@gmail.com.